All right, let's get right into it. Think about the world of academia for a second. It's a place we all associate with lifelong learning, right? With deep experience. But something really weird is happening, especially in China. A field that's supposed to be built on endless curiosity is starting to put an age limit on its newest members. This quote really just hits the nail on the head. In most professions, experience is an asset. Yet in academia, age is somehow becoming a barrier. I mean, that just turns everything we think we know about scholarly life completely on its head. So what on earth is going on here? Well, it all comes down to something called the 35 and under rule. And this isn't just some vague idea, you guys. It's a specific, concrete policy that is actively changing careers and, honestly, people's futures. So what is it? Simply put, it's an age requirement. Universities are setting a hard line, usually at 35, for PhD graduates who are trying to get their very first faculty or research job. It's a cutoff that's becoming more and more common. And if you think 35 sounds tough, get this. It's not even always the firm number. While 35 is kind of the general expectation, some universities are tightening the screws even more, pushing that limit all the way down to 32. This makes an already tiny window for applicants even smaller. And this is real. It's being written into official policy. Check out this example from Northeastern University for their 2025 hiring. It's a whole tiered system. If you have a master's and want a staff job, you got to be under 28. A PhD for a staff position, under 32. And there it is. A PhD for a teaching job, you have to be under 35. Okay, but there's a loophole, right? Well, sort of. A lot of these postings say the limits can be relaxed for exceptionally outstanding candidates. The problem is nobody really knows what that means. It's super vague, and it just makes the whole stressful process even more uncertain and subjective. Okay, so we know what the rule is, but the real question, the big one, is why? Why is this clock ticking so loudly all of a sudden? Let's take a look at the forces driving this whole trend. The number one reason? It's a classic case of supply and demand. Over the last decade or so, there's been an absolute explosion in the number of new PhDs graduating in China. And when I say explosion, I mean it. The numbers are just, wow. Look at this. In 2015, you had about 74,000 people enrolled in PhD programs. Fast forward to 2024, and that number has skyrocketed to 171,000. The market is just flooded with incredibly qualified people. To put one big, bold number on that, that's a 130% increase in just 9 years. So, with way more graduates fighting for basically the same number of jobs, universities can be way, way pickier. But it's not just about how many people are applying. You also have to follow the money. See, a really important source of funding and, let's be honest, prestige is the National Natural Science Foundation's youth program. But here's the catch. It has a strict age cap. It's 35 for men, 40 for women. So, of course, universities want to hire people who can bring in those big, prestigious grants, which means they want to hire people who are still young enough to apply for them. And then there's this other idea, which is, frankly, a little controversial. Some research suggests that there's an optimal age range for scientific creativity, somewhere between 25 and 45. Now, obviously, tons of amazing scientists do incredible work much later in life. But this idea of a creative prime sort of fits neatly with these age limits, and it helps justify them. So, we've talked about the policies, the numbers, the funding. But what does all this actually feel like? What's the human impact on the people who are caught in this race against time? Let's just map out what it takes to meet this deadline. You basically need a perfect straight-line academic career. You start college at 18, you finish your PhD around 31. Okay, you're on schedule. But just look at how tight that is. There's no room for anything to go wrong. No time to take a year off, travel, start a family, or deal with any kind of personal setback. It has to be a nonstop path. And that insane timeline creates these huge pressure points. First, you've got this tiny 4-year window after you finish your PhD to land that tenure-track job. Second, it pretty much guarantees you can't have any career breaks or life experiences that might actually make you a more interesting, well-rounded person. And third, all of this pressure is happening right around age 30, which is exactly when society expects many people to be starting a family. It's a direct conflict. And here's the real kicker. Even if you do everything right, you beat the clock, you get the job, the race is not over. Not by a long shot. New faculty often get put on these intense 3-year evaluation cycles. It's a constant publish or perish environment just to keep the job you fought so hard to get. The pressure never lets up.
So, with all this going on, where does it leave us? It really forces us to step back and ask some pretty big fundamental questions about what a PhD is even for anymore. What is its value?
You know, people usually go for a PhD for two big reasons, right? Either they have a deep passion for knowledge and research, or they're hoping for a stable, respected career. The problem is, this age gate system undermines both of those motivations. For the person driven by passion, it puts a ridiculous deadline on discovery. And for the person looking for job security, the flooded market just makes it a huge gamble.
And one expert we looked at put the economic reality of this so bluntly, it's perfect. If the market gets flooded, every new PhD degree that comes out devalues all previous PhDs that came out. It's just a stark reminder of basic economics. The more common something is, the less power it has in the market.
The result of all this is this truly sad, kind of twisted paradox. You could have a 30-year-old, someone who should be at the absolute peak of their intellectual power and curiosity, and they might look at this whole system and feel like they're already too old to even start. We're losing potential talent before they even get in the door.
Which really just leaves us with this final, lingering question. When you put a deadline on passion, when you put a timetable on discovery, who are you leaving behind? And maybe more importantly, what discoveries are being left behind with them?